For the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Praise be to thee, most supreme God, omnipotent, omnipresent, all-pervading, the only being. Take us in thy parental arms, raise us from the denseness of the earth. Thy beauty we worship, to thee do we give loving surrender. Most merciful and compassionate God, the idealized Lord of the whole of humanity, thee only do we worship, and towards thee alone do we aspire. Open our hearts towards thy beauty, illuminate our souls with divine light. O thou, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, all-powerful Creator, Sustainer, Judge and Forgiver of our shortcomings, Lord God of the East and of the West, of worlds above and below, and of the seen and the unseen beings, pour upon us thy love and thy light. Give sustenance to our bodies, hearts, and souls. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooseth, and guide us on the path of thine own goodness. Draw us closer to thee every moment of our life, until in us be reflected thy grace, thy glory, thy wisdom, thy joy, and thy peace. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide.
There's three more to go.
Reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. Inspirer of my mind, consoler of my heart, healer of my spirit, thy presence lifteth me from earth to heaven. Thy words flow as the sacred river. Thy thought riseth as the divine spring. Thy tender feelings awaken sympathy in my heart. Beloved teacher, thy very being is forgiveness. The clouds of doubt and fear are scattered by thy piercing glance. All ignorance vanishes in thy illuminating presence. A new hope is born in my heart by breathing thy peaceful atmosphere. O inspiring guide to life's puzzling ways, in thee I feel abundance of blessings.
O thou
who art the maker, molder, and builder of the universe, build with thine own hands the universal, our temple for thy divine message of love, harmony, and beauty.
Okay. So we'll start with purification breaths. Earth into the nose, out through the nose. Water in the nose, out the mouth. just one shigal. Okay, today,
Do I open? Open.
Sorry, I'm a little warm and I was asking if others were also warm and I was going to open the doors.
oh yeah,
Is that okay? Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, I turned the heat down too, just residual.
I'll do it.
I did,
Okay.
just gonna take a little while to. So today begins a couple of months of working with various Buddhist practices in this ongoing thing. Beginning with lesson 9, which is a peculiar style of Buddhist meditation. I'm going to read about it. It says, part 1 of this meditation was sparked by Pir Vilayat's recent encounter with the Dalai Lama, which would have been in 81 or something, I suppose.
Go ahead.
They ended up being, this was their first meeting, I believe, and then they ended up being good friends for quite a while. Well, really time. And part 2 continues our work with creative imagination through focusing on entering into the consciousness of the Buddha. Now, I'm going to read this material, and you can stop me at any moment and say, stop. Let's talk about that, okay? The quintessence of the Buddhist teaching transmitted in the Tibetan tradition is to be found in the Vajrayana, the vehicle or means of the diamond. In the use of the word diamond is a tacit implication of the clarity of the clear light of bliss, which is the ultimate objective of the quest. Moreover, suffice it to grasp here an inference by anticipation of many centuries to the hologram of light as the perfect model of the holistic paradigm of our times. Anybody have any clue what the holistic paradigm of our times is? Okay, the practices used are based on mixing, that is, extrapolating several factors. The ultimate mixing being of method, which is the cause of the form body, and wisdom, which is the cause of the body of truth. What's the difference?
Can you say it again?
The practices used are based on mixing, that is, extrapolating several factors. The ultimate mixing being of method, which is the cause of the form body, and wisdom, which is the cause of the body of truth. What do you think that means?
How wisely you do it.
Well,
The form body is
I know
actually
it's-
capable of anything, right? I mean, the form body can lie.
okay.
And it,
What came to me is that the form body is me as an expression, and the body of truth is the greater whole. So mixing those two.
So it's the paradox, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The practice.
It's the ultimate paradox.
Yeah.
Okay, just another way of saying the ultimate paradox.
Well, when the form body, he called it the method.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still the method by which you choose to do the practice.
Yeah.
Well, it's also the method of manifestation, the method
Yeah,
of
yeah.
creation,
mm-hmm.
right? It has to
Yeah.
it has to exist as individuation, whereas the source, wisdom and truth, is unity.
Yeah.
You know, which has no individuation. So So mixing the two.
And the form body contains or is connected to the ego, and that's can lie.
Sure can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lie to yourself
Yeah,
mostly.
so,
We lie to ourselves all the time.
yeah.
Is it also, in the Raphaelite, the physical, mental, and emotional are the form body,
Mhm.
and the moral body seems like it's like a bridge between the
Spiritual.
form and the spirit.
Interesting way to put it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, here's the coolest paragraph in this whole thing that I'm about to read. Yeah, so
Hey, we
pay
could just stop there.
pay attention. To overcome the impact and consequent conceptualization and conditioning of the environment. Okay? You're conceptualizing what the environment is, and you are conditioned by it as well. One visualizes oneself in a self-created mandala based upon one of the traditional patterns. Likewise, to overcome one's misleading and constraining self-image, one envisions oneself as a bodhisattva in becoming. However, the motivation for this must not be for self-attainment, but in the sense of bodhicitta, for the sake of fulfilling a purpose which involves helping others.
That's rough.
So, can you just
That's a tough one.
can you just repeat the part, like, what is the purpose of envisioning oneself in the center of a mandala? How do we use that?
For the good of mankind, for the
Yeah.
good of helping others.
I thought there was a sentence there of the method.
Oh, one of its original forms.
It's like, what is the mandala that I'm sitting in? What does that what does it represent? Universe. The
Okay,
universe?
to overcome the impact and consequent conceptualization and conditioning of the environment, we're overcoming that, right? One visualizes oneself in a self-created mandala based upon one of the traditional patterns.
Okay, so we don't know what the traditional patterns are.
No.
So for our own purposes here, can we then create for individually for ourselves what this 3D mandala might be, and then
Sure.
envision ourselves as bodhicittas in becoming in the center of this, helping people?
Well, you're becoming the bodhisattva. Is that even something that you can feel comfortable visualizing? Okay, that your ultimate
That's what I
goal
think
is.
is rough, though, that struggle between for self-attainment and for the attainment to help. That's the rough part for me.
There's a clue in what he said. You know, that there's this impulse in Western culture that effort expended equals something attained,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're not attaining anything.
Yeah.
That's the key. That's really the biggest barrier to Westerners and Easterners too. Now that I think about it, all the stories I've read. So you're, rather than thinking of, and it's hard not to think of attainment because of our cultural conditioning, right? So imagine yourself in the center of a constantly shifting expression of divine intent, okay, and calling a mandala.
That answered my question.
What would that feel like?
Can we spend time doing that now?
Well, as part of the conditioning is a very big part of my conditioning is reaction. And part of it feels like part of my progress is to, I don't know if I'm, is to soften reaction and to not, to not let everything feel like I'm in the waves of the ocean. Every step I take past getting hit by the waves and into the ocean, the waves of emotion and judgment and thought, they're part of my conditioning that makes me
intention oriented.
Mm-hmm. So, has that softened over the years?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's the process. You know, remember that our lives and our lives, however you see them, your spiritual life, which is intrinsically part of the rest of you, or it is you, is just one long dream. It's one long dream, and that this dream continues to the very end. You know, when you leave this body and move on to the next phase of, the next metamorphosis.
I have a suggestion for this because of thinking about how to create this inner mandala, which would be individual for each of us. But if you're concerned about the conditioning, to make that a part of it and watch how it is affected, say by divine light streaming through. It's like this ocean of conditioning, maybe something like that, or whatever, however you want to construct it. How is it affected then by the light of your heart, or the light coming through your crown, or even your action, your thought, or projected thought or action toward helping others? How does that affect then the conditioning? And so instead of a static mandala, of one that is moving, like the idea of God being a verb, it comes to me here, and we could make that like part of it in our imaginations.
Sure, I like that. So go ahead and let's settle into that for just a little bit and see what you come up with. Anything at all?
After a little while.
Okay. Would you care to divulge?
I started concentrating on just the idea of this body being a statue, and like even these clothes just being something somebody put on this statue, and then the thoughts of, well, all this time I've been struggling to tell my spirit to get in line with my intentions, like that I was that this physical manifestation was the puppet master of my spirit. And I was like, oh, whoops, it's supposed to be the other way around, and I started dwelling there for a little while, and then I had some visuals, but then I just focused on that movement and the sense of helping others and what that means, and how often I forego even just an encounter at the Dunkin' Donuts, or those moments with the general public that I find irritating every day, that are like, oh, these are moments and pockets to project help to everyone. I'm here to help every one of these people in some sense. And then it went to, it's interesting, the hierarchy that I place on helping my family, or especially my children, first. And then I thought, I don't have to deplete from that energy in order to equally help the universe around me. So that's what I got.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I keep noticing lately, because school is getting a little less anxiety producing, and so my general patterns are easier to see. And I love Mershid's concepts about indifference, but I don't actually, what would the word be, pervert them and say, I feel like there's a way in which I understand, because it's when I'm not practicing that sort of indifference, I'm judging. But I also take it a step into laziness and say, it would be all right if I flunk. So there's there's some understanding and there's some ego perversion of that is not using the model that I love of Pir Vilayat's glance and the passion that was in it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, I didn't jump, but I know I sort of jumped from one place to another.
Okay.
You got the bliss look.
I was just in my cosmic egg image and, breathing in the uncreated light and having it shine out through the layers, which I do that practice a lot. So as you were reading this, I thought, well, that's my mandala.
Oh, okay.
Just to stay with that regardless of, what's going on. The more often I can come back to that, the more it, I have a sense of peace, and I have a sense of that I do affect the lady at the Dunkin' Donuts, even if I don't talk to her. As long if I hold to that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Moving on. Since one will be deriving some satisfaction from the spiritual pursuit, hopefully, you just described it.
Mm-hmm.
A certain amount of, there's a little satisfaction involved. There isn't actually quite a lot.
Feels great.
Okay. One must from the start be careful to keep transmuting personal joy into impersonal bliss. Okay? So you need to be consistently aware of that. That little thing in the back of your brain that goes, ooh, look at me. I'm so cool.
Because then it becomes addictive.
Yeah, it does.
Transformative. Is
Yep.
that right?
Yep. It's one of the most important things to pay attention to when you're doing Mahasabha, which you should all be doing all the time anyway. Very much in Mershid's vein, rather than dismissing
Just a
personal...
Is everybody clear about what Mahasabha is?
You want to get that, Candace?
I'm just presuming it's what you just described, that practice. Emptying out and radiating that, giving.
Hi.
Hi.
Come on in.
Come on in, sit down. You're going to jump into the middle.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. We'll just charge you double. The Mahasabha is consistently paying attention.
Okay.
Basically, always asking yourself, what am I doing now? All right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so, where was I? I'll restart this again. Since one will be deriving some satisfaction from spiritual pursuit, one must from the start be careful to keep transmuting personal joy into impersonal bliss. What do you suppose that feels like? You get a little shot of self-satisfaction when you do some practice good, or you suddenly realize you've been nice to somebody that you wouldn't ordinarily be nice to, or whatever it may be, right? What's it feel like to transmute that into impersonal bliss? What does...
It becomes neutral.
Okay, yeah. Is that in fact what happens?
Sometimes.
Okay, that's what we want. We want to continually be aware of that the thought process that you're experiencing, actually it's an emotion. Self-satisfaction is an emotion, right? Is an illusion.
At the same time, happiness is the natural state.
Yeah, that's
So let's not dismiss it at hand if you simply feel happy. It's like this is the natural state. So it's like the question is then, is this personal joy or is this the natural state of bliss?
Well, he's talking about self-satisfaction from having attained something or having done a practice well or something like that. Okay, as
Okay, so
opposed
that's
to
the
just a
difference
general
then.
state of
Okay.
happiness, which you can encounter just by, looking up at the
So
sky and
this-
seeing a
yeah.
cloud formation that's pleasing, which we do all the time when you think
I
about it.
have to be excused for a minute. I'm plugged up.
Go
So.
ahead.
Could it also be like those moments where like your feet are on the ground, but you forget yourself?
Yeah, no floating.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun.
It's a lovely place to
It
be.
is. Yeah.
So, and yet I feel, it's kind of like I report these instances to you because you're my guide, and that is,
Is there
I
a
think-
self-satisfaction involved there?
no,
or
well,
being
that's
able
what
to
I'm
report?
thinking. Like,
It's
is
very
it because I want to get a gold star, or is it because I'm reconfirming or ratifying it, and that makes it stronger because I'm still learning.
Oh,
Always.
I wasn't thinking about it in either of those terms. It would be more, it's kind of like validation, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what I meant by ratifying wasn't the right
Oh,
word.
right.
That's
Validation. Yeah.
bubbled up.
Am I on the right track?
Yeah.
At least you're, just checking in. That's fine.
Witnessing.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. That's what I do.
But we also like witness ourselves
Uh-huh.
in Mahasabha.
You do, but it's a tricky place,
Right?
Yeah. Because you're continually, there's also the factor of self-justification. Anytime that you're angry at someone, what's the very first thing that happens? You justify it, right? Rather than saying, oh, that's probably not such a good idea.
There's
the very
this-
first thing that happens, you justify it.
There's this lovely, it's this whole system sort of, this book called The Anatomy of Peace. And they talk about how whenever we do not follow the impulse to do the next good thing in front of us, whatever that might be for another person, we betray ourselves.
Easy to say. Difficult to necessarily recognize.
It is, but it's not a bad practice.
You have to be really careful not to be imposing yourself on that other person.
Yes.
That's another.
Well, yeah, that's it. Yeah, they recognize that, but
Okay.
I like the idea of because the self-betrayal comes from the instantaneous rising up of self-justification.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Moving on. Very much in Murshid's vein, rather than dismissing personal satisfaction, one may harness it into the pursuit of bliss. Then, let go of personal satisfaction. Okay? Then harness bliss to the edge of peace, then melt bliss into the emotional void.
Can
Okay.
I read it again?
Rather than dismissing personal satisfaction, one may harness it into the pursuit of bliss. Then let go of personal satisfaction. Okay? And then harness bliss to the edge of peace, and then melt bliss into an emotional void. I understand that in Sufi terms, the word peace is a static place, right? Whereas joy is activity. Peace is stable. No movement. Because how could there be movement in a state of peace, right? That's just a definition that Sufis use.
I'm curious about the use of the words harness as opposed to letting go. So you're letting go of, in my thinking, the personal satisfaction or that bliss, and then into a state of peace.
Whereas he's saying use it.
He's saying use it. You offer it up somehow. It's like gives a different coloration.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It gives you the idea that you are actively pursuing something rather than meekly submitting to some.
Yeah.
That you are part
Not
of the
just
creative
passive.
process.
Yeah, I
Right.
picture it as like alchemy almost.
Yeah. Well, that would
Alchemical
be.
process.
Yeah, that would be Pure Lights.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reminded of, and I don't remember the whole thing from Murshid, the last phrase is annihilate, annihilation, or
Yeah, that's
is
it.
that right?
Yeah.
Say, what was that?
And the last part, I don't remember the whole thing, but the last part is annihilate, annihilation. So it's annihilate the ego, annihilate this, and then annihilate, annihilate.
Well, it's also a Buddhist practice, as I recall.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how it goes, but somewhere in the Dhammapada it basically says the same thing. Okay, and then here he goes. His Holiness the Dalai Lama threw a revealing light on the difficult Buddhist concept of void by telling me that it meant thinking in terms of the essence of both what appears as phenomena and the subject.
Can you say it again, please?
His Holiness the Dalai Lama threw a revealing light on the difficult Buddhist concept of void, the void, which we've all at some point looked at, by telling me that it meant thinking in terms of the essence of both what appears as phenomena and the subject. For your information, these are all Buddhist practices for the next couple of months that Pure Light worked out with the Dalai Lama, and this would be in the early 80s. The objective is expressed as Mahamudra, which is the union or mixing of great bliss with a sense of emptiness. Actually, there would be satisfaction in great bliss unless one knew how to empty oneself of the notion of being a personal self.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, the whole thing again, actually.
And the brain stutters. Okay. The Dalai Lama told Pir Vilayat that the concept of void in Buddhism is worked on by thinking in terms of the essence of both what appears as phenomena and the subject. Okay,
Can
so
you extrapolate that?
well, what's phenomena?
What's here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it appears, right?
What appears, whatever appears.
Right, and then there's the subject of what you know yourself to be observing.
Okay.
Right? The phenomena is how it appears to you, which isn't necessarily what it is.
Right.
Right? And then the subject is what you know it to be.
And then
The
the subject
connotation of something.
changes the phenomena.
Yeah.
Just this,
The association changes.
whatever
the
it-
concept.
yeah.
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 Remember, we're talking about the void now.
Yeah, well, okay.
Okay? What's the,
Phenomena is like a whole, the whole concept is full of filters. That's sort of like
Yeah.
what phenomena is.
Pales.
yeah. What
fails it.
what it is you believe it to be. Do you believe in magic? Do you believe in astrology? Do you believe in this? Do you believe in that? When you observe something, what are you really observing?
Mm-hmm.
Are you bringing your attitudes and opinions and to this whatever it is that you're seeing, and creating assumptions based on your observation, which probably has very little accuracy in terms of what's actually in front of you.
And your history.
Yeah, yes,
Your
of course, that's
observation,
part of
your
it. Your genetic heritage. Remember what we were talking about this morning? The whole all of those filters that you have within you that you don't even know are there.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's
so
like
it is the double-edged sword
Yeah.
because it can bring you closer, but it can also veil it.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So imagine that there's a space there where you're just watching without any kind of. What's that feel like? So just close your eyes and think of a phenomena that you've observed recently. Could be anything, watching your child get angry or some kind of celestial phenomena or anything. Just close your eyes and think of something. And notice how it is that you brought your filters to that thing. And if you strip your filters away and just look at the thing, then what will inevitably happen is you will begin to slip into the void. It's inevitable. You understand the void, or what Sufis call the black, is just the other side of your thought process. You know, as the mind relaxes, as you observe these things and you see them, and the mind relaxes, the more it relaxes, the closer you come to being in this state of neutrality, I suppose you could call it. Right?
The other side of your thought process?
Yeah.
So, as you were suggesting that we think of something that we've observed recently in this way, I just got this, oh my God, that would be exhausting to do that all the time.
That's the deal.
Huh.
You get used to it.
Isn't that the paradox that Mercia told us we must live among the world, and yet our desire is to have space so that we can do only that and not be exhausted.
Yeah.
Well,
Isn't that?
yeah. Seems to me that the whole thing is part of Mahasabha, because if you're having to use Yashahid, the witness, all the time.
Right.
That it's like it's interesting for me because I chose the phenomena I chose was the storm, because I had such reaction to it, such
Right,
fearful reaction
We both
to
did.
it, such anxiety. And because I have a relation and friends in New York City that live, below 14th Street, and but I never got to the point of in just this little meditation of letting go of trying to see it for what it is, and even the positive aspect of it. In other words, the people will allow and then come up with something to solve this problem of global warming, etc., and wake up in a sense. So, but I never got to the point of blackness, as you call it. It's like never. So observing this, but I guess it was a good thing to observe at any rate.
There's another way to there's a couple ways to work on these things. One of the ways that I often suggest is to, well, this is a concept really, and I was just having this conversation with the girl in Luxembourg actually, Karen, right? Because she got very upset at the idea that there is a lost soul, and what do we do about it? The lost soul is one of Mercia's concepts, and for him there is no. How did he say it? You can't do anything with him, which is the sociopath, which do exist. There's not many. I mean, in my whole life, I've only met one.
I've experienced too many of them already. So we got to do something to stop that magnetism.
Okay. What's important to understand, because as I was explaining to her, is that if there is an aspect of creation that is an attribute, sociopathy, then it must have examples. There have to be beings who manifest those attributes. Have to be. Can't not be. So they too embody spirit. Even though it's and so why does that attribute exist? Why does it exist? For instance. Just for instance, okay? So when you begin to see that attributes, the sifat, the attributes of the divine, in combination, create aspects of manifestation that we find uncomfortable. What does that say about how it is that we judge things? Right? And then as you get into that, then you begin to see this whole idea of, what do you call it? Transmuting personal joy into impersonal bliss. Because
it's not always going to be comfortable.
that's right. sometimes it's going to be difficult.
I was reading about a leopard in Africa that is currently killing people. They think it's only one, but it might be two. But they said that leopards don't actually like to eat humans.
No, they don't like
So-
the taste of it. Yeah.
So, and it was in. I'm sorry that I'm so inaccurate with geography, but it's in Kenya, I think, and it's right on the border, and so they're afraid that it's also in the bordering country because, like, they aren't. One country's keeping their statistics, and another country's keeping their statistics.
And they're not very friendly.
They're not like nobody's asking the other country,
Collating in.
and they're not finding him. So, like, I was just struck by the paradox of how, from a distance, we love leopards, but here's one leopard who is manifesting something that humans
On
can't
leopard-like
tolerate.
behavior.
Well,
That's
also the
Semi on leopard
Yeah.
because he is a carnivore.
fear of the dark, the fear of the beast. That's very deep in our genes. Goes back a million years, right?
And so is that idea of privilege. I'm too privileged to have a leopard eat me.
Yeah, good point. There's this wonderful story in a science fiction book about this young boy who wants to, that I've read. It's just a little part of the story, where this young boy is off on his safari with his father, and he decides that he's going to be brave, and he's going to give the lion a chance, and he's only going to take one bullet with him, one round, and go off in search of the lion. But his bearer, who he also had to take with him, picked up the rifle and knew instantly from the weight of it that it didn't have all the bullets in it, and just freaked. Went and told his father. And his father didn't say anything. He just kind of looked at him. He looked at the rifle, and he looked at him, and he said, "What if there were two lions?" You know?
Or a pride.
Yeah. So it's all of these concepts that we bring to our lives that enable us to discover this state of bliss as we allow them to subside.
Why do you
Our
choose
concepts.
that word?
Subside? Because you're never going to get rid of them entirely.
The concepts.
They're always going to be there. I mean, Pure Life taught me that. That's one of the
They just become less important.
Yeah, they become less important, exactly.
Even the conditions, that's right. Yeah, so it's interesting because as you kept talking, I kept going back to mandala. You know?
Okay,
And I thought about the conditions that we, our training, our history, our opinions, etc., our fears, that whole thing. And I guess it's aside for a time, but then had to go back again into the light to have them realign themselves, or shift and change. So it's like constant. It's right. It's not something that
It's once and done.
It's passing like time.
So this whole
Oh,
process
that's
that
it,
we're
yeah.
talking about now is letting go of personal satisfaction, even though it exists. You have to admit that it's part of you.
harnessing it.
Yeah, harnessing it and using it.
Wouldn't Peter Valiant be taking a bit of a side track also at the same time as giving this talk, talking about spiritual bypass? Because aren't we dancing with spiritual bypass in this subject? And I know he talked about that a lot.
Yeah, he did talk about that a lot.
That self-satisfaction could lead us to spiritual bypass.
Yes.
What
yeah.
do you mean by spiritual bypass?
When you get very something that he talked, it was a subject that will probably come up in here somewhere. He talked about a lot, where you get so involved in self-congratulations in terms of your spiritual life that you miss all of the intervening points that must be touched. It's like the way that I think about it is when I'm building a piece, right? I'm building a piece, and as a professional, I don't skip steps. But an amateur would try to build the piece before he was ready to build it.
Because he would only have the vision.
He would have the vision of the piece in mind without having learned all the intervening steps. So you have to do all of this clearing and cleansing of the ego and your psychic
habits.
structure, your habits, your assumptions, your opinions, all have to be addressed
To get
as you're working on this process. You can't just jump from I'm an idiot to I'm really wonderful and I should be the Pope. Right? Okay.
And that's why the other day Shahabadin was saying, I think I heard it from that phone conversation, but that too many highs are not good for you.
Yeah.
And I wondered what that meant.
Well,
why?
I think you can get into the habit. You can induce a psychic high pretty easily once you learn how. But that's not doing the work. That's just fun.
Mm-hmm.
I can teach you how to do that. It's pretty easy. It's not that hard. But
That's what I meant when we were talking last night, and I said that if I get in a difficult situation and I do that practice, then I'm okay. But it feels like I'm doing that, and I want to be cautious of not.
no, you do it as the light practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do it as think of it as an adjustment factor.
Okay.
Okay? You're adjusting your psyche because otherwise you'd be reacting.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, I still feel like I have to be cautious.
Yeah, sure, of course. All of it. I mean, there's caution as part of the experience. Okay, where are we at here? Appears as phenomenon and subject. The objective is expressed in Mahamudra, which is the union or mixing of great bliss with a sense of emptiness. Now, I want to just address that a little bit, because everybody has a concept of what emptiness is. Have you experienced it? If you have not experienced it, then you don't know what it is, and don't pretend that you do. So your ideal right now is to work towards that experience, okay? Without inducing it. You cannot induce it. All right? It appears when it appears. And that's important to understand. So, sabur is pretty important too. It's patience. Being patient. Okay? When you have experienced it, then the memory is there, and you have something to compare. Right? What am I doing now? Am I being self-satisfied in the state of bliss, or am I actually entering into the void? Or remembering? Right?
I went to see I went to see the Dalai Lama at Radio City Music Hall for 3 days a few years ago. Within an hour, I realized I was in so far over my head, because he started out by saying, I'm not going to speak English. I'm going to teach Buddhist concepts. There's not going to be any Christian concepts. This is not a talk for people who want to hear about
Happy thoughts?
Yes. And so he leapt right into these two really deep Buddhist teachings. And one of them that he did explain, it was so beautiful to watch him and his translator, because he actually knows English, but he can't give a formal seminar in it. So he talked about how he is of a school that does not put any emphasis on nirvana, which non-Buddhists often think is like heaven. But he talked about how if you are going to live by Buddhist concepts of enlightening the mind, you are not going to experience nirvana, because as soon as you experience nirvana, you change into a person who has goals.
Yes.
Doesn't
exactly
that
what
apply
happens.
to this?
That's exactly what happens. You'll suddenly understand I have value, I have meaning. I need to continue. Otherwise, it's all kind of like amorphous.
Wow. Okay.
And then I fell asleep and stayed asleep the rest of the time. And realized I'm not actually a Buddhist.
Okay, Majida?
Yeah, sure. Would you do me a favor and bring that clock toward me so I can... We're going to do a meditation. First of all, what I'm going to do is read you the entire thing so you get an overview of it. And then what we will do is spend a few minutes on each section, and I'll repeat each section so you can follow in that way. All right? So I'll read the entire thing first. Imagine the objects and being in the environment melting into blue light. Imagine that this light flows into your body. Imagine that your body melts away gradually, simultaneously from the top and the bottom, like a candle burning at both ends, becoming smaller and smaller, and eventually becomes a point of blue light in the heart. Repeat the mantra Hum, concentrating upon the point of blue light in the heart. Represent to yourself the sound without saying it aloud. Enter into the inner resonance of the sound without representing it to yourself. Now represent your mind as melting into a blue light hovering over a 6-petaled lotus in the heart. Out of this blue light, with your powers of imagination, build a new mind body as an emanation. Now plant within this body the seeds of further emanation of bodies and mutations thereof. Okay, and I suggest to the two of you that you sit with your back straight. It's like, so if you have to sit in a different chair, because your back is not straight like that.
This chair is a funny
So you could sit in one of these other chairs, or you could sit on a cushion, and your back is not straight either. So if you get into one of these other ones, just for this meditation, you can switch later, then you'll be able to have a straight back. So just before we begin, because usually in meditation, you want your body to be still, absolutely still. So just bring if you can, think of your back as being straight, pull your chest up a tiny bit, and your chin down, just a tiny bit, and have your hands rested on your thighs or your knees or whatever is comfortable for you. So you can think of the objects around you, or you can think of whatever objects you wish to think of. So the first part is imagine the objects and being in the environment melting into blue light. So imagine that this light flows into your body. imagine that your body melts away gradually, simultaneously from the top and the bottom, like a candle burning at both ends, becoming smaller and smaller, and eventually becomes a point of blue light in the heart. Now repeat the mantra Hum, concentrating upon the point of blue light in the heart. You can do this at your own pace, at your own pitch. Represent to yourself the sound without saying it aloud. enter into the inner resonance of the sound without representing it to yourself. Now, represent your mind as melting into a blue light, hovering over a 6-petaled lotus in the heart. Out of this blue light, with your powers of imagination, build a new mind-body as an emanation. plant within this body the seeds of further emanation of bodies and mutations thereof. Amen.
How do we do? Like Pure Glide says, look at all these serious, stern faces. Yes?
Why blue light? Why blue?
Why do you think?
Well, it's the sky. It's color sky. It's color of pure ice. I don't know. Just because it had to have a color.
What else is blue?
Sea,
I mean, emotion.
sadness.
No.
No?
Calmness.
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 Okay.
Peace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So,
Also, no, never mind. Sorry.
so plant the seed of the body. I thought, what the heck does that mean? And what I think I experienced is it just means the way that I am in the world. So, and then other seeds of mutations. Well, what does that mean? Well, sometimes I have to be different ways.
Do you go on?
Oh, beyond this
Yeah.
100-year span.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's even bigger than that.
Yeah.
And also you have different bodies. You have your physical body, your emotional body, your
Yeah.
mental body,
Yeah.
your body of your moral body, relationships, and your spiritual body. As I said, there's all those different ways, and some of which you have been put into practice that just is being making it. It's like, and how would that further emanate? What as a seed? What would be the further emanation of that? What would be the further emanation of your mind if you were without judgments,
Oh.
right?
Opinion, okay.
Criticisms,
Uh-huh.
fears, and so on. It's like those kinds of seeds.
I was thinking as we were doing the practice, this is a complex practice.
It is.
This is a tough one. So this is a good one to do again,
Mhm.
on your own. Just work on it.
I guess I got hung up on the word mutations too.
Yes, sometimes don't get too hung up on words, okay?
Right.
It's like, anyone else have anything to say? You can sit back in a comfortable chair.
It was an interesting meditation because I was, because of the path, I was not troubled by the inclination to fall asleep or change states. I was able to follow the path that you laid out. It was nice that way. It seemed to have an awareness of inclination toward leaving the meditation and finding sanctuary and sleep instead.
It just was very peaceful. That's what I experienced.
Peaceful.
Yeah.
Good. You getting caught up a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Takes time. Madam Malika. Speechless? Really? Wow. Yeah. Okay, yeah, this is now where we're starting to get pretty serious with this kind of material. Not that we haven't always been serious, but this is where this is the turning point in these lessons where things start to get pretty complex and challenging.
Oh dear, oh dear.
And so what we want you to do is to recognize that that's the case, and you're. I think as you're doing the practice, one of the things that was coming to mind is it's like because you're doing the practice and then you kind of start thinking and then you flip back into the practice and you start thinking again and like that, right? And one of the things that I was thinking was that each person has to accept that they're going to experience these kinds of practices at their own rate.
Yes.
Right? One of the more annoying aspects of working with a master is they will often assume that you understand everything they're saying.
Want to experience everything they're experiencing.
Right. And it just won't occur to them that you're not, right? I once asked Piravalaya to please explain to me what he meant by visualizations, because I just didn't see very well. I don't get these visuals, and he just had no clue what I was talking about. He just didn't get it, because to him, he sees these wonderful imageries when he closes his eyes, and I don't get any of that. So I really have to struggle with this whole practice. I had to struggle to keep the images firm in my because
so did I. I found it interesting that I could follow the blue light and really concentrate on that, except when we started with the whom, and the sound then took over, and then I had to struggle to get it back, and then the further meditation just went right back into it. But it's like it was as if I couldn't hold both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It was either the sound or the vision. Oh yeah, okay. Good.
The home enhanced your experience?
Yes, I kept losing blue. It's not a color that I spend a lot of time present to, I guess. I also don't see.
You don't get imagery either, right?
I'm not
kind of fuzzy stuff.
I don't see in this life where I'm using my eyes to do it, So the sound helped me.
Yeah, I had that same experience as her. The sound helped me focus. Yeah.
It does, and it's interesting. Even if you're simply focusing on the sound, on the vibration of the sound, and the inner essence of it.
More visceral.
Yeah.
Okay, so try this at home.
You'll be given the sheets to take with you.
Yeah, so why don't we do the noon prayers?
Are we there yet?
Well, it's 20 minutes till. We could do a little bit of this next material.
Do a little bit of the
Little
next
bit?
material. Yeah.
And then work on the other one
Yeah.
for the afternoon. Okay. This is the part 2 that was mentioned at the very beginning. Let's start with the imagination. This is mostly a discourse, I think. Can you imagine Buddha sitting through the day and the night, having left the world behind? Can you imagine the strength of his will to persevere without sleep, in the cold and the heat, without food, being bitten by insects, threatened by dangerous animals, the body so weak that he had to drag himself to water? Can you imagine what happens to consciousness when there's no thought of the physical world whatsoever? When consciousness has been carried beyond the point where it is an individual consciousness, there are no personal thoughts. One has left oneself behind, as the Buddha says. It is as though one were the mind of the universe, and then one has the memory of the universe. You know how I am saying the memory of what the void is like? It's exactly what he's talking about. Buddha speaks about the eons of time when universes were born, proliferated, destroyed, and then new universes were created. A panoramic view of the whole infinite sequence of universes. Can you imagine that?
Chapter 11 of the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, exactly. And the consciousness of all the planes of beings, since the memory and consciousness is no more limited by the person and is infinite. That is the consequence of letting go of everything, so that Gautama could be called the Tathagata, the one who has become thus. In the realm of emotion, since he left everything behind, Buddha is in a state of most perfect peace. He is touching upon the peace beyond understanding that is at the source of all life. He did not descend from his state of peace to share in the fragility of people, but tried to raise others to his consciousness. He knew the cause of suffering was because people are looking at things from their own point of view. The following story illustrates this point. A lady whose child has died went in desperation to Buddha and said, "Now I hear that you are a great master. Do you think you could bring this child of mine back to life again?" Buddha said, "I have a practice for you. If you go and visit all the houses in the village, and if you can bring me back a chickpea from one of those houses, any house, in which there has never been a death, I will bring your child back to life again." The lady went to the different houses and asked, "Has there been a death in your family, in this house?" And everywhere there had been a death. So what Buddha was doing was helping her to get out of her personal consciousness and realize that all people are suffering from grief. Get into the consciousness of all people. She was only thinking of her own grief. That was his way of helping her. That is the consciousness of Buddha. And we might find now the Buddha in you. There is something in you which seeks for freedom from your own limitation, from your own vantage point, from your own ego, from your own grief, desperately longing for freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of the ego, not just freedom from the world. It's freedom from oneself. That is the Buddha in you. Does everyone understand that? The world is what it is. You get to decide how you are going to be within the world. It's not something that is preordained or that you just get offered. You have to actually discover it. That your ego is keeping you in prison. And you have the right to break out.
Toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being,
united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Most gracious Lord, Master, Messiah, and Savior of humanity, we greet Thee with all humility. Thou art the first cause and the last effect, the divine light and the Spirit of guidance, Alpha and Omega. Thy light is in all forms, Thy love in all beings, in a loving mother, in a kind father, in an innocent child, in a helpful friend, in an inspiring teacher. Allow us to recognize Thee in all Thy holy names and forms, as Rama, as Krishna, as Shiva, as Buddha. Let us know Thee as Abraham, as Solomon, as Zarathustra, as Moses, as Jesus, as Muhammad, and in many other names and forms, known and unknown to the world. We adore Thy past, Thy presence deeply enlightens our being, and we look for the blessing in the future. O Messenger, Christ, now be the Rasul of God, Thou whose heart constantly reaches upward. Thou comest on earth with a message, as a dove from above when Dharma decays, and speakest the word that is put into Thy mouth, as the light filleth the crescent moon. Let the star of the divine light shining in Thy heart be reflected in the hearts of Thy devotees. May the message of God reach far and wide, illuminating and making the whole of humanity as one single family in the parenthood of God. Pour upon us Thy love and Thy light. 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 A torch in the darkness, a staff during my weakness, the rock in the weariness of life. Thou, my Master, makest earth a paradise. Thy thought giveth me unearthly joy. Thy light illuminateth my life's path. Thy words inspire me with divine wisdom. I follow in Thy footsteps, which lead me to the eternal goal. Comforter of the broken-hearted, support of those in need, friend of the lovers of truth. Blessed Master, Thou art the prophet of God.
Amen. Okay, everybody had a nice rest? I did. So the next lesson is number 10, transformation through ecstasy, which is a really cool thing to say, isn't it? We don't mean the drug either. There is an element which is really the key to the whole process of transformation, and that is ecstasy. This is Pure Vilayat talking. I want to make it clear that there is no way in which we can bring about a transformation of our being simply by applying our will, any more than we could compose a work of art by sitting at a table and willing to do it. The driving force behind what we're doing is being able to capture an attunement which stirs our being to the depths and ultimately opens the door to grasping meaningfulness. Okay? Not okay?
Can you just say it
Say
again?
that last sentence again.
The driving force behind what we're doing is being able to capture an attunement which stirs our being to the depths and ultimately opens the doors to grasping meaningfulness. Okay? Meaningfulness being what?
Both the source and the manifestation.
Go to the head of the class.
Oh.
However, will has a place in setting the pace, in creating the external setting. For example, it is at our will that enables us to sit in one position without moving, put up with cold, heat, hunger, and thirst, and bypass the need of the mind to seek distraction, such as watching TV or talking. All of these nice things that people like to indulge in. You will notice that when we have one of these things, these group things, and you happen to get very deep into something, as we just did in the morning, deep into that, what's the very first thing you do when we break?
I look for sugar.
The other thing.
Talking.
Huh?
Talking.
Yeah.
Physical movement. Oh.
Yeah. You start to talk, right?
I was going to say go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Now, the very first thing you do is talk. Dissipate the energy, right? Gosh, it's too much. I just feel too good. Get rid of some of that, right? If you hold on to it and don't say anything, that's part of what he's talking about the will, enhancing your capacity. Okay? Make sense?
But then there's a point at which you could blow up.
I was thinking that. Am I going to spontaneously combust today?
Just explode into it.
And sometimes other people are uncomfortable. I have experienced that if I've done that I have the sense that others are uncomfortable. And very pointedly, when I went with Telmo to Jamaica, we had the option of choosing silence, and I was the only one that chose it. And that whole weekend, almost every person tried to get me to talk.
Sure.
Or they'd like jump in front of me when I was walking and make a face to try to get me to smile. It was intense.
Yep. Very typical. Yeah. So, but if you're alert to that, and this group can be alert to that, chill for a little while after we finish and just see how it feels, and then you can engage in talking because, of course, you want to communicate, and I understand that. But for a little while.
That's why it was originally was the healing circle ceremony. You arrived in silence, did the ceremony, the concentration, and you left in silence. It's like, so you maintained that attunement from the beginning through the end, through leaving, carrying it with you. It's like
That was also the recommendation for regular Sufi classes.
I think it's very important to leave that option. I think that because in our circle there's quite an element of friendships, which is wonderful. But I don't go out to eat with everybody because I think it's important to set a model. I mean, on a rare occasion I will, but I think it's important to set a model that you can come in silence and leave in silence, and that you can just come for the class and not have to arise to socializing.
You might actually have to say something though.
I haven't in a long time. You remind me, because I used to say that.
Yeah.
And actually, our attendance hasn't changed in a long time. So maybe I need to say that out loud, and then the intention will bring new people.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I'll talk to you later about that. Ask me later, or some other time. Where am I at?
I have fond memories, though, of after Sufi dancing, when John was in the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, to go to the Hungarian pastry shop. Very
Okay,
fun.
you're not being helpful.
I know, sorry.
I like that one so far.
A little levity is good sometimes.
Except to say that there's choice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I feel like as a leader. I have to set that choice.
Good.
Okay, moving right along. The Buddha is a model of how to apply the will. Imagine sitting under the Bodhi tree for 49 days and nights. I just came back from India, where I meditated under that tree and entered into the feeling of the extraordinary adventure of Buddha, leaving his palace to meditate in the jungle, no food, an ant nest built on his head, without recourse to any other human being, with only the sheer determination of finding a solution to pain. It was a scientific experiment, and the only instrument he had was his mind. By the discipline of the mind, he was able to unmask the hoax in which most people are caught in the shackles of suffering. That's one experiment of human realization which is conveyed in his words, consciousness is carried beyond the point where it is a personal consciousness. Do you feel you've been hoaxed? Prabhupada talks about that a lot, the hoax of the mind. Do you feel you've been hoaxed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are you going to do about it?
Laugh.
What else?
Something that comes to my mind that's similar to me, to my heart, I want to say, is the story of the prophet in the cave when the spider builds the nest, and whoever it is that's trying to kill him comes and says, oh, he can't be in here, there's a spider web. And since I'm so familiar with fear, that story means a lot to me, because I think about how if I were in that position, I would be tempted to ruin the protection by screaming, or my mind would take over and react to the fear that I
So in your case, the hoax
is that the world is a very scary place.
okay. So what are you going to do about it?
What have you done about it?
Yeah, I am a lot less fearful than I used to be. And I do often imagine that cave, and the thing that seems similar to me is that being still and not moving and controlling, using my will to answer that fear.
Okay. So does it, when I say the word hoax, how does that feel?
Very true.
Like we've been had, it's like
Even though
fooled.
there you are, sitting there in
Fooled,
your in your consciousness with your ideas about who you are and your self-opinions and opinions of others and
Yeah.
all of that, right? It's all sitting there inside your mind.
So that's like a prison.
It's conditioning, isn't it? It's the
Partially,
prison
but also acceptance.
Choice.
of our conditioning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Consciousness is carried beyond the point where it is a personal consciousness. Now, that's the key. Now, again, the challenge with all of this is we can, you're listening to this with the intellect. You say, oh yes, that's true, or whatever it is that I'm saying, you're just agreeing. I hope, that's the impulse to agree with the material because it sounds right? Now, then when we get to the doing, then we get into another area, because you're being asked to step beyond your personal consciousness, accept that you are not all there is, you know, you are not the center of the universe, and allow your being to meld or merge into the cosmos.
Dare we be more than we think we are?
Dare you be who you really are, or what is it? Dare you have the courage to be who you really are. That's the quote. Right? So, do you? Just continually ask yourself that. Because, as you'll hear people like us often say, you know, we want spirituality to be fluffy white clouds and pink bunny rabbits. And so far I haven't noticed that it is. I've yet to see a pink bunny rabbit. Okay. Now the converse to be found amongst the Sufis, and particularly Hazrat Inayat Khan, is awakening in life, fulfilling one's being in life, gaining mastery, being able to endure the harmony of the universe in one's handling of situations. Not only that, but finding a new order within the existing order, and therefore mutating the divine order as it is at present. How about that?
That's, that really struck me when I read it. Mutating the divine order.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It's
the
like,
co-creation,
wow,
right?
it's like,
That's co-creation, right?
So like Allahu Akbar, it's like acceptance mixed with an understanding that it's beyond my understanding.
Nevertheless, you're part of the action.
Yes.
And influence the outcome.
That's what evolution is all about. To each one, it is our incentive that imitates the divine order, so the personal will is involved. But there is no way of attaining transformation, realization, or ensuring the mastery of our being just by an act of will. Okay? So we're all in the process of elaborating our story, you might say, making it more fulfilling. And by that act, we affect the cosmos. Right? We take the divine order.
Are we in the process also of increasing our vibration toward being good? I don't know how to say what I mean to say.
being fulfilled, being.
But that's so much more
Yeah,
personal than
revealed.
I mean, like, are we in the process also of increasing our ability to beneficially and
Yes.
enhance the universe?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know.
I think by your statement you do know.
I think the answer is yes, but I also think that it's inherent in the work. So
If it's inherent in the work, then it's a moot point, isn't it?
yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Right? Doesn't matter.
I think I was looking from the tree instead of me for a second.
Oh.
I just have a question about this. What's the sentence about the divine order? You're changing it. It's like, but
Yep, that's what it says.
but who? But I mean, I'm confused about what that's what the divine order is. It's like there is an order, but of what is, but is that necessarily the divine order? It's like really that
Okay, well
sentence
then
really
you're into
perturbed me.
into a problem of what it is that divine actually means.
Yes, I guess
What
I
does
am.
the word mean? Because it has baggage, just like the word God has baggage.
Yeah.
Right? So what does the word divine really mean?
Sacred, holy. It's like,
So
what do you mean so? Shaking your shoulder, shrugging your shoulder. Wait a minute.
Does it also mean I mean, you know, the divine order is like, it's like the earth turns around the sun.
Yeah.
All those things are, they're like they're very ordered.
Yeah.
Newton thought it was to be found in geometry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's basically what you're saying, orbital mechanics,
Yeah.
or any kind of mathematical solution to existence, right?
It's like what I'm thinking is that the divine order within our own beings is there, and it's us that gets in the way. The self gets in the way of it. So you're really trying to see the self in a new light, or trying to get through the veils of that to let the divine order come through. That's why I was questioning the sentence there.
Okay. Well, turn it on its head then. Do you suppose God cares whether you transform or not?
I think he's got more things going on than that. Isn't that the
Yeah.
I think God cares.
Why? Why would you think that?
Because we all are part of Him.
So that what that means is when you transform,
Yes,
what happens?
the God transforms. So yes, God cares.
So there is a mutation, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it's talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got it. Okay.
Got it? Okay.
Yeah. God knows Himself a little better.
Yeah, or differently.
that's right.
A little differently, perhaps. Yeah. Because it's you don't have to do any of this. Right? There's
Few
no
of
need
us
for-
are inclined to.
That's very few, right? That's why this is a little group, not a big group. It's the way it works. I'd be a little scared if it was a big group. I think, what am I doing wrong?
Like that story about Moinudin Chisti when he decides to go to the temple of Kali,
Right?
Yeah.
and the only person left is the little boy.
Bachya Kaki.
Yes.
So, do you know that story?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Moinudin Chisti. Well, he had a huge following.
But not Moinudin Chisti.
Oh, it wasn't Moinudin
No,
Chisti.
no, it wasn't Moinudin Chisti. It was a Hindu.
No, it wasn't a Hindu because he went to the temple of Kali and all of
It
the
was a Sufi sheikh.
Muslims were horrified that he would go there. That's why.
Yeah,
I feel
Mercy
sure.
tells the story.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
I thought it was.
No.
When I read it, it was a Hindu that
No.
went, and all his Hindu followers were upset.
Well, that could have been another story then.
It could have been.
This is a Sufi sheikh,
Uh,
a Muslim, who decided, just announced one day, I have this great impulse to go and worship at the temple of Kali, and
his
all of his, he had thousands of disciples, and they all just got horrified and left. And he went, and only one person followed him. And he gets to the temple, and he turns around and looks at this boy and says, "Why are you doing this?" "Well, you're my teacher. I'm going to go wherever you go."
Right.
So he went and worshipped the temple of Kali, and he got famous, and all those people that left him were forgotten in the dustbin of history.
He got rid of all of his fluff.
Yep. Careful, I did that a couple of times too.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah. Rattled people. Okay, it takes a lot to bring about the transformation of a person, in case you hadn't noticed. They say the leopard never changes his spots. It's not quite true, but there is a great resilience in our being, to the extent that there is a recalcitrant attitude toward whatever you may impose upon your body and mind. There is a homeostasis, whereby the mind and the body would like to fall back to their own rather slovenly, not concentrated attitude. This particular attitude is entropy. Anybody disagree with that? You ever feel slovenly and want to fall back? Okay, I have enough of this, discipline
Get back in
nonsense.
bed and
I
smoke a
really don't
joint.
want to get up in the
That's
morning.
exactly what I was just thinking.
What were we thinking?
Get back in bed and smoke a joint.
I was thinking of renaming my free cell game as Entropy.
What game?
And free cell.
She said.
If I were to meditate on the strength of the instructions that I give, I would never be able to meditate. If I am able to meditate, it is because I have been stirred in the depths of my soul by wonderful beings. The kind of conviction that comes from actually having seen a magnificent being, to have actually witnessed what happens to a being under the influence of mastery and concentration. The faith of a person will give him or her self-confidence, enabling him or her to overcome the negative self-devalidating thoughts that stand in the way of fulfilling one's purpose in life. You can see that actually happen in front of your eyes. So what you talking about here? Memory. Okay, when you experience something wonderful, that's the key to use to catapult you into a state of bliss, right? And what you're doing is you're continually enhancing those memories.
Making a library. I think of it as making a library.
Making a library? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Why not? Make a library. Create your library of blissful, ecstatic memories. And then they move you. And it's a skill. It's like any skill. It's a muscle memory as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Or some types of therapy use touch. Like they have you tap a certain part of your body to instill it with some mind pattern that you're trying to create, so that every time you need to access that, you tap that same point.
Yeah, I do that. We call that an anchor in hypnosis.
Oh, okay. Does it also mean like the study of Mershid and the development of devotion of a great being?
Could be, if that's your inclination. Yeah, not everyone is inclined in that direction, but some people are. Yeah, devotion. Path of love.
What?
The path of love. Okay. Ecstasy unleashes the pent-up emotional drive in our being, which is arrested by delusions in life. When this latent outburst of energy is suddenly released, it acts as an all-pervading power which triggers off transformation. We need to remove the obstacles that hamper us in our inherent attunement, which is the same as that behind the whole universe. That attunement is ecstasy. Creativity is born of emotion, and ecstasy is the ultimate emotion which arises every time one has been freed from constraint. Ecstasy is the power that brings about transformation. You have a puzzled look on your face.
Thank you.
Yeah. What's going on in there?
I was actually just thinking about two things. That, but then also why they charge $2 to get into my basketball game.
To get into your what?
Into my daughter's basketball game. I just realized her basketball game. That literally was the puzzling look, because I thought, I just paid all season. Why am I paying $2?
Split mine.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember my friend is taking her, and I thought, oh, I should have told her $2. So that was, sorry.
The distractions of the mind.
distractions.
I know.
Cut
The
that
mind
out.
wants to chatter have its way.
Yeah.
Can I ask about? It seems to me that he's like, I think of ecstasy as quite elusive, but he's making me think that it is not as elusive as I have believed it is.
Mm-hmm. It's just a mechanical kind of thing, in fact, according to the way that he's talking about it, right? Yeah. So what do you suppose it really is?
Moments of clarity, or are moments of clarity the result of ecstasy?
How about moments of forgetting?
Oh, they're moments of forgetting myself and just being.
Yeah.
Moments of freedom.
How about that?
Yeah.
That will that do you for now? Okay. Ecstasy is to the psyche what energy is to physical matter. It is something that you cannot bring about by any act of will. You find it in your idealism. You find it in your intuition about splendor. It doesn't always manifest on the physical plane, although it does break through in excellence. For it is an inherent splendor behind everything that we perceive in the universe. When you think about excellence, ecstatic excellence, think of when you like walking through the Met and you look at the art. There are qualities of excellence there that you just don't see, right, in other artists, because those guys are the best, right? So there's there's an ecstatic quality to that art in excellence. Okay.
I was actually thinking of Disney World. I guess I'm quite the little American here.
Hey, children.
Okay. I'm thinking of there's this one painting in the Met in the main hall in the European section of Salome.
Mm-hmm.
That it's pretty big. It's like once and a quarter life size, and the quality of I stop every time I go to the Met. I have to go see that because just the quality of how he painted the fabric.
Yeah.
You know, there's this fall of sheer fabric over her leg. You know, how the hell did he do that?
Or the painting of St. John.
The painting, exactly, of St. Joan. That's the same, because you see these angels and you have to kind of find them, kind of hovering there, and they're kind of, hard to focus on. How do you do that? That's an example.
Did you ever go to the RISD Museum in Providence, and they have this?
No.
It's from Japan. They don't know when it's from. It was found in a barn, 2 pieces, and it is taller than this room. It's a Buddha made out of wood. And they found him in 2 pieces and brought him in a ship a long time ago and hooked him back together, and he has his own room. And he's got his fingers and his, it's all carved into wood. You can't even see where the pieces of the tree, except for the 2 halves. So cool.
No, I've never been there. I should go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I say something just about that last statement?
Yes.
I'm feeling like I understand it in that sense, in that artful, creative sense, but the analogy, I'm getting stuck with I think you said that he said something about the energy, just like the physical.
Ecstasy is to the psyche what energy is to to physical matter.
Okay, that's where I'm getting stuck, because with the physical matter, we can produce energy by exercising. We can produce more energy. So I guess I get stuck because if that's the analogy, then we can produce ecstasy by discipline, can't we?
We've been saying.
Not necessarily discipline.
Okay.
It's something else.
Okay.
It's like I don't think you can find it through discipline.
Discipline. You have to have discipline
To begin.
So through
To
practice.
sit.
So he's not saying
Train
you
yourself.
cannot do that. But, okay.
No, it's part of the part of the
Okay.
process.
Okay. I think maybe I misheard then.
Oh,
Well,
no,
the whole first section of the Bhagavad Gita is about discipline,
that's right.
and it's a big part of the path.
So can you sit like this practice that we do?
But it's saying that the ecstasy part of it is not. You can't get there through your will.
Right.
Oh,
Right,
through your
right,
will.
Through your will.
And
So, but
discipline
you have to have
requires
the will to have discipline. So that is the
That's
beginning
where I'm getting
part.
hung up. Yeah.
However, but the ecstasy comes through in different ways. It doesn't.
Maybe you get it's the launching point. The will gets you to the point of
Okay.
getting ready to launch.
It's like when you do breathing exercises. Your breath will carry you so far, and it's necessary to use the breath. It's like the Muhammad on the horse, Barak.
Right.
It's like the breath will take you up to a certain point, but beyond that,
You got to get off the horse.
You got to get off the horse. It's the breath doesn't carry you any further, but your consciousness does. you know, the opening, what am I saying?
Launching.
No, the
It's hard to describe, isn't it?
it is very hard to describe.
I'm
but
sitting
it's
here
like
trying to think of how to
you
say
just-
it.
it's like yes, you've left yourself behind in a sense. So you are, you know, that brings about the state of ecstasy. But you do need the will to begin to sit there silently, quietly.
Yeah.
The breath, so using the breath to take you higher and higher. You know, it's like, but there's a point where you can't take you any further, and then you
So,
let go.
go ahead.
Well, I heard that statement, that sentence differently, I think. Energy is to matter as ecstasy is to the spirit.
No. Energy.
Psyche.
Oh yes, right. Ecstasy is to the psyche
Psyche as energy is
what
to matter.
energy is to matter.
To me, what I heard was that matter is simply one form of expression of energy, you know, the particle wave thing. So I heard that very differently.
I see what
I
you
think.
No, that's an interesting take on
Yeah.
it. So that the psyche is
Simply one form of expression of ecstasy.
Interesting.
Oh,
I
nice.
like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. And then it's also, as you were describing it, you know, the Buddha willed himself to sit under the tree, but the opening of the consciousness, he could not will. He could have sat there and nothing could have happened.
Right.
No matter how much he willed something to
Right,
happen,
right.
it might not happen.
Yeah, you had to let go.
Yeah.
Because you recall that part of the process, if you ever read Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, one of the part of the process is that when he's confronted by the demon, he stops paying attention. That's the point of that he's catapulted into understanding.
Okay.
When he stops paying attention to the demon. Right?
It's like every fantasy story where you have to step off of what you can see.
Yeah. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so you're on the way. Where are we at here? Excellent, breakthrough and excellence. It is an inherent splendor behind everything that we perceive as the universe. It's a kind of intuition, a sixth sense that we have, yet we don't always dare to believe in it when we are tested in our faith in meaningfulness, our faith in splendor, our faith in the power of love, and ultimately, of course, our faith in ourselves. I just hope that behind my words, you feel something that has come through from my communion with wonderful beings, and you will find it in yourself sometimes. Okay? So, Sarah?
So thank you for sharing this meditation with me. It's a meditation that uses your creative imagination, and it I think is a way to possibly experience much of what we've been talking about. So if we could have everyone get into a physical posture that is conducive to meditation, with a straight spine and making yourself comfortable so that you can sit without being distracted by your body. Can you tell me the time on the recording?
I got it.
Thank you. Just take a deep breath and let it fill your whole body. And as you exhale, allow your physical body to surrender to gravity while your internal structure remains upright and rising. Imagine yourself walking out of a prison. You are freed from the prison of a sense of inadequacy. realize how relative your opinion is. You leave behind the bars of resentment which have held your spirit captive. Freedom comes in moments of forgiveness. You are freed from the bondage of fear by visualizing yourself doing something deeply meaningful to your soul, which you didn't believe you could do. You are free from constraint, which creates the breakthrough of ecstasy. Ecstasy is the power which brings about transformation. And now bring yourself back to awareness of your physical body and the weight of your body on what you're sitting upon. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
So, tell me what you felt.
It's strange.
Just
Go ahead.
talk about the forgiveness. I didn't know what kind it was, and I should forgive myself, forgive others, or others forgive me.
What do you think it was?
I try to think of all three from.
Exactly.
I didn't hear it, sorry.
All
It was all three.
All three, yes.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to include all three.
I am so habitually hard on myself and willing to be imprisoned that I kept on, like, random thoughts would come in and tell me why, you know, like
You should get back into prison.
yeah,
It's safe in there, get in there.
not
Three
you know,
dots
they
there.
weren't- wasn't constant. I've been working with resistance a little while. I was able to like only have it be one sentence and notice that, wow, sitting here on this very nice cushion having a lovely meditation, and yet you can't resist those thoughts every now and then.
What happens when the thought suddenly dissipates?
Excuse me.
I sort of, I'm grateful and I miss him at the same time.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't it?
Yeah. What are you missing?
The tension that,
No.
no.
What are you missing?
I don't know.
Have it.
Yeah, oh yes.
Familiarity.
Yeah.
And the comfort of something known.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yes, prison. I mean, I work with parolees a lot, and almost always there comes a time when they wish they could go back.
Wow.
It's known.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
People don't act so.
out there is who knows what's going to happen.
It's like wanting to go back to the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Just be mindless.
Well, to me, it was such a wonderful reminder that every resentment, every idea of inadequacy, every resentment, every, it's a prison bar. It holds you back, holds you in, holds you down. It's like, and the unforgiveness of it also just holds you down. It's like, so to walk out of that
Yeah.
prison, it's like, oh, okay, but it's like a constant reminder. Because we constantly have resentments, yes? We constantly have something we have to forgive, or somebody hurts our feelings, or whatever, It's like or we have these areas of feeling inadequate, don't think that we can do something when it's like freeing ourselves from that and really seeing that we can. It's just that, walking out of prison. It's like, wow.
I had a
It's so
Murid say to
cool.
me the other day, I want to know that I feel worthy of your guidance. Meaning, I'm not sure I feel worthy enough, kind of thing, right?
Oh, everybody goes through that.
I think so. Yeah. The whole idea of being worthy of accepting the joy of discovering that it's okay to be you, and that you are in fact worthy of being part of this wonderful process.
Excuse me.
We've had this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
In Pir Vilayat's list of Sufi names, there's Arzani, which means worthy of honor.
Arzani?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a new one on me.
I know. I gave it.
You
It's
did?
right there in the list in the old.
You gave it to somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So did it come to you and you didn't know what it meant?
I was reading through the names, and I saw, and it was very attractive to me. And Mehadia said, "That's too fast." So 6 months later, I couldn't remember it, and I went back, and it was the only one that was attractive to me.
Yeah. What I love it when that kind of thing happens. I especially love it when I get a name for somebody and I have no clue what it means.
Yeah,
That was
that's
You know?
my name.
That was your name, right? I didn't know what it
That
meant.
can't be right. Because it said simple.
Right, when I gave you your name, I
Found
didn't.
out.
I did not know what it meant. I had to look it up.
And then someone told you it didn't just mean simple, it meant simplified.
Simplified, yeah. Yeah.
But something you said is that I'm very self-critical about resentment. So this speaks to the forgiveness of myself for having that very human
Oh, yeah.
feeling.
Yeah. Wow.
Because both the criticism of it and the resentment itself is a bar. Each are a bar. Each are a bar. Each are a bar. Each is a
A
bar.
barrier. Try that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, should we take a little short break?
Right. Okay. Candace has to leave.
Okay, we just have a little more material here, and then we'll do something creative, or who knows. Again, back to Pir Vilayat. I am musing upon the implications of the words of Dr. Kubler-Ross. When people are about to die, the two things they regret most are not having done the things they would have liked to do, and secondly, not having become what they felt they could have been, would have been, or might have been. It's an anticipated sense of the latent perfection lying in wait in one's being. Okay? Do I need to go back over that again? Does that make sense? All the stuff you should have done? All creativity is anticipating how things could be, a projection to future orientation. Most persons are disappointed in themselves and they put it down to their disappointment in life. Yet it really is their disappointment in themselves. Remember what I keep saying, that one of the major emotion of our current culture is disappointment. That's what it is. And resentment's a close second. One who would have thought that it would be simply a matter of working with ourselves and improving ourselves, but that is like the artist trying to will a work of art. It's much more complex. One needs to consider the depths of one being. That is what happens to the artist or musician when catalyzed by facing a trauma in life or discovering the nostalgia for beauty. One unleashes a drive. It is getting in touch with the rebirth in ourselves. We could say that it's just like the jagged ends, the leaves, the petals that are fading away as new petals are emerging. Until the new petals manifest, we can't see them. And likewise, there is no way of knowing what is emerging in our being by trying to observe it. So we have to call upon a deeper form of cognizance, which we call experience. You understand what he's saying there?
But you have to be awake to your experience.
That's right. Because experience, otherwise it'll just be the same thing over and over again, and you'll never ever move beyond a certain assessment of value. In experience, we assume that we have a subject, and observing an object is different from ourselves. Now, this deeper form of cognizance one could call self-discovery because the object is the same as the subject. There is even a further dimension of this, which is to be found in the words of the Sufi Abdul Ansari, who said, "I was looking for God and all I found was myself. Then I was looking for myself and all I found was God." I have his book if anyone's interested. The subject of the self-discovery is further and further withdrawn from the personal I, the personal consciousness. It is an impersonal ground of one's being that discovers itself as our being. That's the essence of Sufism. Okay, there's this practice of Sheikh Abdul Ansari that he would give to everyone. He's the subject of a Sufi Sheikh in the 20th century. Anybody ever seen that book?
Mm-hmm.
It's worth reading. Moroccan, I forget his actual order. What it is a full exhalation, which we all do, right? You know how to do that. When you're about to do your breathing practices, the first thing you do is exhale completely. But in this case, you do it with the word Allah, like this. Go ahead and try that. Your own pace, as much as you can get out. So the man that wrote the biography of Sufi Sheikh in the 20th century talks about being in Ansari's compound. And there would be, men and women on retreat, had little huts, and all through the whole compound you hear these people doing this, and Ansari would make them do it until they finally got it, whatever it was. Can you think what it is? Yeah, they might do it for 2 or 3 or 4 days before you let them do zikr. But there would
One time feels like a whole zikr.
be. Imagine doing it all day.
Emptying.
Exactly. You're emptying yourself of all of those assumptions, opinions, disappointments.
That last law can sound sort of like a vomit.
A vomit?
Yeah. Because it's that last little.
Interesting.
Yeah. I like that practice because it is an emptying, exactly. Okay, there's one more meditation in this lesson. You want to do it?
Oh, you go ahead. You go ahead.
So, just kind of, when you're setting into there's some steps that I just want to iterate. I've told everyone, but I'll go over it again. The first step is just paying attention to your breathing, the rhythm of your breath. Just noticing. You don't have to change it in any way. It will change as you pay attention to it. And then the next thing is to let your mind wander through your body and make sure that all the muscle groups are completely loose and limp, very relaxed, that there's no tension anywhere. And if you're not sure of an area, tighten it up. See how that feels. Let it go. See how that feels. This is what you should always do before beginning any meditation session. And then thirdly, exhale completely. And that brings you into a nice, wonderful state of psychic relaxation. And of course, posture is important to keep your back straight. To feel. You don't want it to be a strain, but nevertheless, if it's not something that you're used to, then you should cultivate it. You'll get to the point where the only way you can do it is by having your back straight. And then kind of check your chakras, start at the bottom and concentrate on each one, going vertically. Make sure there's a nice communication between your chakras. So that you finally get into a state of deep relaxation, because the key to all of this, to everything that we do, is relaxation. Relaxing the body, relaxing the breath, relaxing the mind, relaxing the emotions, till ultimately you're relaxing your spirit, because your spirit gains tension just operating through life. Okay. Now at this point, reflect upon your life and earmark any significant yearnings which you feel a deep desire to experience or accomplish. So just anything that pops into your mind right now. might be a deep desire, something that you would like to accomplish, something you yearn for. Sufism views the deepest desires as divine impulses. And in realizing these desires, God experiences fulfillment in us and our soul, finds expression through the enrichment of our personality. Now ask yourself, why are these yearnings so deeply felt? What it is you truly want. And also earmark any sense of resistance to expressing these deep desires. Note it. And then ask yourself, just from your own personal knowledge, what divine qualities or emotions find expression through your experiences or accomplishments? And then, how would you be enriched if you were to realize these yearnings? Okay, now contemplate the anticipated sense of latent perfection lying in wait in your being. So there is a latent perfection in your being that is expressed through these yearnings. Contemplate what that would feel like to actually manifest it. Imagine becoming what you could be and open to the ecstasy of the promise in your being. See how the conditions of your life may assist your unfoldment. And then ask yourself what kind of being you would like to be at the completion of your life. Who do you want to be when it's all over? And this will enable you to intuit the vision contained in the seed of your being and assist the flowering of that vision in your personality. Because remember that Sufism is about actualization of the divine within you. So now what I'd like you to do is that each one of you to think of that one thing that you absolutely, totally must do, but you're afraid of. Whatever it might be. What is that one thing? There might be more, but just for now, one thing. And then what you do is you visualize yourself, your future self, whom you are becoming, having actualized this yearning despite the fears. Just see yourself some years from now, perhaps. And then if you can, imagine this future being, your future self, turning and looking at you in your present state with the deep gratitude of one who knows that you have done what must be done in order that they might exist. Amen. How'd that feel? That was good. So we have this opportunity to discover these latent qualities that are frightening and cause them to emerge. You all heard the story, what it was like for me when I finished my book.
Mhm.
It was sitting there in my computer for 2 years. Just sat there. It was done. I didn't have any more to write. I'd go back and I'd reread it and edit, change it here and there.
Excuse me.
And finally, she got tired of it and grabbed me and made me do some hypnosis and told me to send it out. what I realized in the hypnosis session that Maja did on me was that I was afraid of accolades, terrified of being admired, because of course I'm not allowed to be admired. Right? Absolutely afraid of it, because I knew I had a good book, it was worth reading. But and then even after she did the hypnosis on me, and I realized that it still took me a month to to go ahead and do it. So ever since then, I've realized that this potential is not. It's not just us. Okay, it's because we have this balancing act, I suppose you could call it, between our individual needs versus our responsibility to the society around us, which also has compelling emotions that we are responding to or denying, perhaps. Right? Like, there's always this moral plays about the morality plays about the individual who is being compelled to do something that his culture is outwardly saying don't do, but inwardly wants him to do. Right? That's a very common kind of theme through our literature for thousand years, probably. That very thing. The culture says, no, don't do that, but it also subliminally knows that this is a change that is important, and this being exemplifies it. So, I would put to you that even though whatever it is that you came up with seems individual, it is also in response because it will have an effect on your culture, your society. Right? It has to. It must. It cannot not be effective. So looked at in that way, are you willing to be brave? How brave are you? What should we do? We can do some.
What time is it?
10 after 3. I was thinking that, we could do Zikr, but I was thinking, when you're in the middle of a retreat and you're approaching that moment of merging, or, it can come at any time, I suppose. There are some practices that are more apparent. Now, one is that'll take you out of yourself, which is really what we want. And Zikr is certainly one of them. There's a couple that come to mind though. Drul Jalal Bal Ikram, certainly. Azim Aziz.
Ali Mut Ali.
Ali Mut Ali. Qudus Hai.
Just the song Zikr.
Which one?
Murshid.
Murshid Zikr. Okay. But let's do something else first. Qudus Hai. And the way that you do it, it's going to be tricky to get into a group rhythm. We'll manage. Just me for a moment before you join in. You do it like this. Yaqadus Yahai. Yaqadus Yahai. Like that. Okay? Yaqadus Yahai. Yaqadus Yahai. Yaqadus Yahai. Qudus is spirit, that which exists in all things, and Hai is life. And then Dul Jalal Valikam. Dul Jalal Valikam is translated as Lord of Majesty and Power. Splendor. Lord of Majesty and Splendor. And you might think of it as the Archangel of the universe. That being which is so vast and so high that the most holy dervish hesitates to touch the hem of his garment, which is how Pivalaya would describe it. So just imagine the archangel of the universe. And you do it also as a, same movements as the Zikr. Tu, Jala, Va, Ikram. Tu, Jala, Va, Ikram. Tu, Jala, Va, Ikram. Tu, Jala, Va, Ikram. Tu, Persian Zikr. You can just follow as best you can. La
the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the Lord of heaven and earth. Open our hearts that we may hear thy voice, which constantly cometh from within. Disclose to us thy divine light, which is hidden in our souls, that we may know and understand life better. Most merciful and compassionate God, give us thy great goodness, teach us thy loving forgiveness, raise us above the distinctions and differences which divide us, send us the peace of thy divine Spirit, and unite us all in thy perfect being. Disclose to us thy divine light. 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 Warner of coming dangers, awakener of the world from sleep, deliverer of the message of God, thou art our Savior, the sun at the dawn of creation, the light of the whole universe, the fulfillment of God's purpose. Thou, the life eternal, we seek refuge in thy loving enfoldment. Spirit of guidance, source of all beauty, and creator of harmony, love, lover, and beloved Lord, thou art our divine ideal.
That's it.